oh my god, this book has the same plot of Aragon, except it's way slower and it's one book instead of 4. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going through my reading experience of the new Christopher Paolini book, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I was kindly allowed to listen to the audiobook arc of this book through NetGalley with the help of Macmillan Audio, and I'm going to take you through what that experience is like. I'm currently 10% into the book already. I'm going to be listening to it this weekend while I'm moving a lot, so I will kind of cut in every once in a while and let you know how things are going, but also any kind of other footage I get of myself listening to it will be me packing and leaving my childhood home, possibly forever. I thought it would be appropriate to film this intro clip before I take down my tapestry and pack it up to leave tomorrow morning. So let me tell you a little bit about what this book is about. I am having a hard time describing it right now, even though I'm 10% in. So I decided to pull up the handy dandy Goodreads Summary, which basically says that Kira dreamed of life on new worlds. Now she awakened a nightmare. During a routine survey mission on an uncolonized planet, Kira finds an alien relic. At first she's delighted, but elation turns to terror when the ancient dust around her begins to move. As war erupts among the stars, Kira is launched into a galaxy-spanning odyssey of discovery and transformation. So far, I'm loving this book. Like I said, I'm 10% in, which means that if I were to equate that to pages, it's about 90 pages in because the book is just under 900 pages. I'm not a fan of sci-fi, so I was honestly kind of on the fence about whether or not I wanted to read this book or request it when I saw that it was available on NetGalley, but I really love Christopher Paolini. I've read all of his other books, so I thought, why not give this one a shot too? And I'm so glad I did. I think that if you're a fan of the Illuminae files, but your biggest complaint was you wish it was for adults, this would be a book for you. One of the aspects that I'm really loving of this is it is kind of like suspenseful, edge of your seat thrilling a lot of the times while we're listening to the audiobook. So I'm going to put my headphones back on, get back to packing, and I'll let you know how the audiobook continues to be. Hi! Remember when I said I was going to video my move while I listened to Sleep in a Sea of Stars? That didn't happen at all. Neither the videoing the move part, nor the listening to the audiobook part. I just kind of got overwhelmed with moving and I ended up listening to nothing because I needed all my brain power on moving out. But I've been in my apartment for a few days. It still has not been a week, but it's been a few days. And I'm gonna finally get back to Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I am at approximately 12% through, so excited to be picking it back up and letting you guys know how it goes. I'm so ready for this to be done. Hello. I would like to come to you all and say that, you know what? I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. I wasn't being dramatic. That book was a slog. So I finished To Sleep with a Sea of Stars. To Sleep in a Sea of Stars? To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. And, oh boy, it was 32 hours. The last 2 hours was an appendix. 2 hours for an appendix. That was 10% of the book. No, that was more than 10. Less than 10? I don't know. I've read many long books. I've listened to many long audiobooks. I've physically read many long books. I've read books that are over 1,000 pages that didn't feel as long as this book. I'm currently in the middle of a reread of Stormlight. I'm loving it. I loved it so much I read it a second time. Long books don't do me in. But this book. Let's actually talk about this book really quickly. I think that if you are a fan of not one, not two, not three, but 4 trips where every single person on the spaceship except for our main character goes to sleep and she talks about how being alone for 4 months is really hard, you're gonna like this book. If you really love paragraphs upon paragraphs of main characters thinking inside their heads about good and evil and how what they do affects other people and how what they don't do affects other people, then you're gonna like this book. If you're okay with chapters after chapters of nothing actually happening in your book, then you're gonna love this book. Let me tell you, boy, I have a book for you. Would I recommend this book to people? After I finished the book, I went and took a shower because I felt like I needed to do some self-care. I don't even know where to start with this book. So let's start with the characters. That's a good, easy place to start. I liked the characters. I don't think there were really any characters I disliked in the book, honestly. I just think there were way, way, way too many. Much like the pages in this book, the characters were way too many and needed to be a lot less. There were a wide variety of characters. There were lots of people representing lots of different types of people, which was awesome. But overall, I think I could have done with like 1/3 of the amount of characters that there were actually in this book. We kind of start off with Kira, she's our main girl, being with a group of people and then going to another group of people and then going to another group of people and then going to another group of people and then going back to one of the previous groups of people and then running into some people from previous groups. And it's just like, oh my God, stop. And every single character that we met, there was at least one, if not more, chapters where they would confess their backstories to Kira. And I was at the point where I was like, I don't care. I don't care that you're an ex-Marine that got kicked out because you actually were a good guy. I don't care that you're a pirate who lost his sister. I don't care that your family is dying on Earth. I don't care. I don't. Because every single person in this book has the same like sad, sappy backstory, which is I'm misunderstood and I'm not actually a bad guy, and if you just listen to me, I'll prove it to you. And I don't care. Again, I liked all of them. It was just like one after the other. I was getting the same kind of backstory from them, and it oftentimes felt like Kira wasn't actually doing any work to earn their trust to get their backstory. It just kind of felt like she went one person to another and they were like, okay, well now it's my turn to tell you my backstory. There was literally this part where this like major general or whatever he was interrogating her, and then he started telling his story, and I'm like, I can't raise one eyebrow very well, so this is what we're getting. The atmosphere, I think, was the best part of the book. There were some really cool concepts. I don't read a lot of sci-fi, but there were some really cool, what I felt like original ideas brought to this book. Some of the things that I felt like were done best were their whole entire ability to regrow bodies, so they could like take your conscious if your body was wrecked and like save it and then put it into basically a robot, but like fleshy robot. There's this whole entire idea of like they could print anything, so like they'd print food, they'd print clothing, they'd print body parts. I do understand that that kind of stuff can get into some ableist language, so I'm not the kind of person to comment on that, but I suggest going and reading some reviews from people with disabilities who would talk about the language used there, because I just don't know if it was good or bad. I know that I read a review that said it was bad, but I've also read a few that didn't mind it. So go check out some other people's thoughts on that stuff. It's not enough to have that be the only like driving force moving me forward and keeping me intrigued in the book, because that's really what I was wanting to learn more about, was this futuristic society and this crazy technology. And after a certain point, I'm just like, cool, don't care. Wow, I've said that a lot. Is there a counter going for how many times I've said I don't care? Because it's probably really high right now. Anyways, I think that the writing wasn't bad, but the pacing sucked. The plot was definitely the weakest. I think that the writing wasn't horrible, and there were definitely some really cool concepts that we learned about while the main character Kira was in her head thinking about cool concepts. But overall, it kind of felt like Christopher Paolini had some cool ideas about like philosophy and was like, I'm gonna turn this into a sci-fi book. Yikes. Let me tell you something. I think that if you had explored those ideas with some more plot, it'd be a good book, but you need plot. You need it. And I think that's why when you read the summary of the book online, you're kind of like, so what's this book about? I don't think this is a book that's going to necessarily stand this test of time. Like I did say previously, I'm not a huge fan of sci-fi, so I can't judge this versus other sci-fi books because I've only read a handful of sci-fi books. So I don't know where this kind of stands next to other ones, but I have read sci-fi that I really like, and I think that those ones will do way better than this one will do. I think that this one is getting a lot of hype because the author is someone we all know and love, but this book just isn't that. It's like if you took all the slowness from Aragon and then just got rid of, you know what? This book is exactly like Aragon. There's a main character who is confused, not super sure about their family, kind of lost, gets a sidekick companion that they can't communicate with very easily, and goes off and fights in this war that they didn't know anything about. Oh my god, this book has the same plot of Aragon, except it's way slower and it's one book instead of 4. Scratch that. This is Aragon, except I liked Aragon. This is Aragon in space, except I liked Aragon. Okay, do I ever think I'll reread this? No. I think there are people out there that will really like this book. I think that I've already seen some of them on Goodreads. I've seen some 4 and 5-star book reviews for this book. I just cannot bring myself to rate it anything higher than a 2. So I have rated this book 2 out of 5 stars. I think that, I don't even want to say I think it had potential because it's not even a debut. If this was a debut, I would read future things written by this author, but this isn't a debut. And I've read other things by this author that I've loved. Did I love those other things because they were in a genre I prefer? Did I not like this book because it was a sci-fi? No, that's definitely not the reason. I will say that if this book was a fantasy, I still think I would have really disliked it. Anyways, that's all for me, folks. Let me know down below if you've read this book. I really don't want to. Anyways, thanks for watching. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I will talk to you all in the comments. Bye.